We'll get started then. So the first order of business is always to approve the minutes from the last session, which was May 4th.
We should just do attendance too real quick.
Yes, we will. Okay, let's do attendance.
Okay, India Beal. Let's see, India. Cliff Dossel.
Here.
David Finn.
Here.
Dara Silver.
Here.
Betsy Towns.
Here.
Elizabeth Rapetti.
Here.
And then Owens Daniels, I do not see. Jane Dabb, I do not see. Jennifer Finkel said she had something come up, and Jason Thiel, I don't see either. So we can go on to the minutes if you'd like, David.
Sure. Let's call attention to the minutes and approving the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 4th?
So moved.
Thanks, Cliff. A second. Thank you, Elizabeth. All in favor of approving the minutes from May 4th, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, Elizabeth, you raise your hand there. Okay. 5 of us have approved, 5 of 5. Okay, so on the agenda today, we have a group from the YAC. And Kelly, do you want to kick this? You want to introduce the context, and then maybe, I don't know who wants to speak and how you're going to speak, but we're eager to hear from you.
Wanda, do you want us to give Portia a minute? You said she's trying to get in.
Yeah, she said she's in the waiting room, Kelly.
I don't have a waiting room.
I just asked her, are you in the waiting room? She said, yes, I am.
Okay. Hey, this one doesn't have a waiting room. I set them up without a waiting room. Let's see. Maybe she got the wrong link somehow?
No, she has the same one that we all had.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know. I don't have a waiting room. Maybe she could try it again. I'm sorry.
I don't know what she did because she's saying it says the host hasn't started the meeting. Very strange. We know that's not true. So yeah, can one of you guys please try to send Portia the link again? Thank you.
I'm texting her right now.
Okay, Addison, thank you. Sorry about that, Kelly. I don't know what happened on her end.
That's okay. These things happen. Let's see. Portia Smith.
There's India. Hi, India.
Hi, everyone.
We're just getting started, India. We're waiting for Portia Smith. And we have a group here from the
Youth Advisory Council.
yes, and their youth expression wall.
Oh, yes.
And so, I mean, if you all want me to, I can go ahead and get started and I can introduce the YAC members who are on to self-introduce to you, if that would.
Yeah, that will be fine, Wanda.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Finn. I'm Wanda Allen Abraha. I am the director of the City of Winston-Salem Human Relations Department, and we're really excited to join the Public Arts Commission today. The Winston-Salem Youth Advisory Council It's one of the advisory boards that we administer and manage on behalf of city government. And the Youth Advisory Council consists of high school students representing each of the high schools in Winston-Salem and Forsyth County, including private schools. And so they are advisors not only to the Human Relations Department, but also to Mayor Joines and the Winston-Salem City Council. They do all kinds of excellent work throughout the year. Each and every year, they have an annual project that they choose that is based on community service and leadership. And so it is totally youth-led. Everything that they do in terms of their outreach and their work is youth-led. They've done things in the past, such as have a yak garden, by which they had produce to share with the community. They've done yak packs for children of people in the National Guard, and also for children of victims of domestic violence. They've done a number of things over the years, but those are just a few examples. And so each year they usually do receive grant funding as well from the Winston-Salem Foundation and from the State Youth Council for their work. And that those are competitive grants. And so it says a lot that the YAC has really chosen things that are impactful, tangible, and meaningful here in our local community that they can lead and actually do successfully. One thing that they're doing this year is kind of a spinoff or a continuation of something that YAC did in the past, which was to try to affect hunger needs that are in the community amongst their peer group. So in other words, what they tried to do is to make it clear, for instance, a couple of years ago, they worked with Attorney David Daggett to create some PSAs for their schools. And the PSAs, the whole intention was to help students to understand that it's cool and it's okay to eat lunch at school. Little did we know until YAC advised us that there is a stigma attached to eating lunches at school or having free breakfast and things like that. We had no idea. I mean, it's been a minute since most of us have been in high school and middle school and so forth. And so they wanted to create PSAs for elementary age students, middle school age students, and high school students that would kind of break the ice with that stigma and help everyone to understand that it's okay. It's okay to partake in school lunches and so forth. But anyway, those are just some examples of some of the work that they've done. So what I'd like to do now is have our YAC officers and members to self-introduce. And we have now been joined by our esteemed chairperson, Ms. Portia Smith. And so YAC, if you all could just state your names, your grade, your school, and a little bit about what you've been doing this year, if you'd like to, because I know you've been very engaged. Portia?
Thank you, everyone, for your patience as Zoom kind of froze on me for a moment. But my name is Portia Smith, and I serve as chair on the Winston-Salem Youth Advisory Council, and I represent Winston-Salem Preparatory Academy as a senior. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is James Taylor, and I am a recent graduate from Early College of Forsyth, and I am the vice chair of the Youth Advisory Council, and I'm just excited to be here.
Hey, my name's Brooke. I am a junior rising senior in the Middle College of Forsyth Tech, and I'm also the secretary for the Youth Advisory Council, YAC for short. So this wall has been so highly anticipated. I've been part of YAC all throughout high schools, and not once have we gotten to paint it. So I'm really excited for this meeting and what we discuss. Addison?
Hello, my name is Addison Truzzi. I'm a sophomore rising junior, and I attend Reynolds High School.
And so, YAC, can you share with everyone what you've been working on this year and why we're here today? And of course, we want to thank the Public Arts Commission too for taking the time to meet with us today.
I don't mind speaking on it. So due to COVID last year, our project that we wanted to do was unfortunately incomplete because COVID really stopped everything in its tracks, really. So what we did this year for our annual project was we kind of split it into two parts. We finished off what we wanted to do last year, and what we organized was this relief event with this small restaurant called Rhythm Lounge and Grill. You guys might have heard of it. We organized this relief event with the owners so that we could provide, how many meals did we provide? Like 800? I don't think it was that many.
I think it was more like 500 hot meals, Brooke.
Yeah, we provided hundreds of people with hot meals. It was really an interesting event. It was so fun. I didn't actually go, but we saw pictures and some other representatives went. And it was all COVID safe too in their little building. So that's what we kind of did to finish off last year's annual project, which was focused on hunger. And then for this year, we organized a virtual food drive using the Second Harvest Food Bank's platform to do it. And we raised over $5,000 for the Second Harvest Food Bank by using a social media campaign online to really target high school students so that hopefully we could get donations from them. So it was interesting. We had to do a lot of collaborative stuff over Zoom, but we worked around it.
And thanks, Brooke. And James or Portia, would you like to talk about the other work that you've done this year, the social justice related, in order to give everyone context for what you want to do with the Youth Expression Wall?
Yes, ma'am. So I believe me and Portia was the moderator of a few race relation forums. I think one was the virtual student race relation forums where we kind of discussed some of the racial disparities that's going on inside of the high schools. And we kind of just got insight on their opinions on race relations in the schools, because you can't really go off of what the teachers say, because students are in the classrooms 24/7 most of the year. So it's just good to hear from different students and just seeing their experience at their respective schools. And also, I think we participated in a citywide race relations forum where it was kind of, it kind of took place after the death of George Floyd. And we just kind of got a feeling and got to test the temperature of how the city is moving on after the George Floyd situation. So that's basically it, unless Portia has something else to say.
Yeah, I will quickly add as well, those were some really popular events, and actually want to kind of take a moment to also recognize that both James and I and Ms. Wanda, we spoke with Fox 8 about race relations that had a whole segment about it, to go beyond just speaking with our peers, but shedding light onto such situations. And not only that, we did have like a race relations small group talk early last year, if the YAC members remember, with the police. And so this isn't something we just started doing. This has been an annual thing each year. And I actually been able to moderate and participate for the past 3 years. So this is something that we have decided to blend in with hunger. And we certainly believe that we can look at both situations and that there's a lot of commonalities between the two.
Addison, did you want to add anything? Thank you, Portia, James, and Brooke.
I have nothing to add. Y'all summed it up great.
Thanks, Addison. So that pretty much was the context. Jamie, did you have anything to add? We have Jamie Waldeck on the call, who is from the Human Relations Department staff as well. Did we leave anything out, Jamie?
I don't think so. As always, I think our youth council does very well.
I agree. So now I think YAC could entertain questions, but the main thing that they wanted to do today was to meet with you all to kind of help them to formulate what imagery would be good, appropriate for the Youth Expression Wall. They want to kind of put their work in the form of art, artistic expression on the wall. And just I don't know if everyone knows the history of the Youth Expression Wall, but this was something that started back when Tim Grant was the director of Recreation Parks before his retirement. There's the wall. That's 1 year when I think it might have been one of the first walls. But basically, the youth wanted a way to be able to invite other youth from the community to come together in a positive way to express their thoughts about social justice and other things going on in the community that impacted their age group as well as the adult age groups. And so each year the wall has gotten more and more artistic, but I don't think we probably shared any other pictures, but anyway, it has gotten more and more artistic each year. But what they really wanted to do was to lean on you all to kind of help them to create and formulate what this wall could encompass and look like based on what it is that they've been doing this year in terms of social justice work. And you've heard about the race relations information they shared and all of the other things they've done. So the focus would be on what they've done for this immediate year. And that's what they do each year whenever the expression wall is painted. They try to focus on what was done that year. And so, yes, there's another one. And that was 2016. So that was some years ago. But anyway, that's why we're here. So just wanted to give you all some background and context.
Let me just say, this is David Finn. Let me just say what a great organization this has been. And I mean, I've been involved in it a long time ago. It seems like a long time ago now. And this has really been an ongoing organization that has been strong. And I think what really impressed me when I worked with you was that you really are very grassroots and you're grounded. You're right in the thick of things. So you really, I think the thing I would mention to my fellow commission members is how involved you are with your fellow students and how much you know about their experience and how important that would be in anything that you do on the wall. I think it should really come from your own experience. And if we could help guide you a little bit in terms of what the possibilities might be for the painting that you do, I think I know that you guys can really carry this and make it something really special. So that's kind of what I have to say. And I'd love to hear questions from fellow commissioners here about this.
This is Elizabeth Rapetti, and I don't really have a question, David, but I know exactly where that youth wall is, and it's a fabulous thing. I always look at it when I'm going past there, and it's whatever you guys put on there, I'm sure will be fabulous. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
I just thought there might be a way that we could maybe make some suggestions, and that might be in a smaller group situation as well, where we could have another Zoom, or we could, among people that might be interested, or just even here make some suggestions, because that's when I heard that you guys were open for that, I talked with Wanda a little bit, and we decided this would be a good place to go. But so I think we've got we've got some experience, and then we've got the energy. So I'm wondering if we have some ideas about how to proceed.
Like Wanda said, we really do want it to be focused on what we've been doing for the past year, and really the past couple of years, because we've really been zoning in on hunger, and the Think Orange campaign has been a consistent theme and kind of what our annual projects have been looking like. So it can really be anything. I think it'd be cool if we put the Think Orange logo on there, just because even though the campaign has ended, we've really carried it out in our annual projects. Looking at those past walls was really inspiring for a second, because that kind of helps me think what we really could put on there to like show imagery for what we've been doing. So I don't know. Any ideas?
And I'll also add to what Brooke said. I feel like that this wall is a very intimate setting for a lot of my peers and of course myself, because it's reflecting our expressions, the youth expression wall, right? And so I think it will also be pretty cool to have, definitely have orange, because orange does represent hunger. And we have focused on that for the past 3 or so years now. And I think it would just be really cool if we could have maybe some vegetables, fruit drawings or something related to hunger. And then also this idea of advocacy, which is all beautifully blended.
David, this is Dara. I was wondering maybe if you could describe the kind of process that we go through in terms of a public art commission and how we formulate an idea, put a committee together, and put a call out.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I think, so what we like to do is we start out with a kind of a brainstorm where we're really thinking about a lot of different possibilities for what the public art project could be and what it could look like. We're thinking about all the stakeholders that are involved, all the people that are involved. Maybe in your case, that would be people that you serve, this restaurant. I'm also thinking about the Race Relations Council and what they've done. Also thinking about like all the people who you talk to. So we usually meet as a group and we have a big, like a whiteboard in front of us that we jot all these ideas down. Anybody on the commission can jump in here and let me know if I'm missing something because it's kind of a unique process. I guess you would probably not think of it as brainstorming, but what it serves to do is come up also with an agreement about what a group together is going to do. So, and what form that's going to take. So a lot of times what we agree on is like who to hire for a public art project, but it could also be what kinds of themes and what kind of imagery and what kind of feeling we want to get from the piece of public art and what we want to communicate to other people. How much do you, for instance, how much do you want to tell the world about what the specifics of what you've done? Or will painting fruits and vegetables, how will that somehow communicate? I think one of the things that we often do when we do these brainstorms is we're pretty critical about what it is that what we want to do. We go back and forth and we talk about it a lot. We ask, is this really going to is this going to communicate what we want to have communicated? So that's sort of in a nutshell. And then there's the point of actually doing it, which is actually much more important and much more, it's also very rewarding too.
I was gonna jump in. This is India. First of all, I'm so impressed with you guys. Like, wow, your presentation, your introduction was just great. By the way, are you James Taylor's son? I'm like embarrassing him on the call. I know his dad. I was like, I think I know your dad. So there can't be that many James Taylor Juniors in Winston-Salem. But I wanted to say another thing you want to think about is the wall itself, right? Like I saw that it kind of curves and has a shape. So when you're thinking about executing, whether it's a mural or something on the wall, you're going to say, well, how can I work with the design, right? Like, how can I work with the shape of it? So if I'm going to do fruit, is it going to fall in a certain way that kind of mimics the shape of the curvature of this wall? Or is it going to come down? I'm going to play on the design and the landscape of the place so that I can really, add that kind of element to the wall. So I'm thinking about place and design, and that's something to consider when you're brainstorming ideas. But I'd love to hear, you said fruits and vegetables and advocacy. Is there something you all have seen, other murals in other cities and other places that you were inspired by? Other youth groups may have done this before. Have you all seen anything like that may have inspired some of your ideas thus far?
Not really from other people, no. But like I've seen murals before, and there's also this local artist. His name's Hieronymus. He does a bunch of cool stuff like that. But I don't really think I've seen like youth murals doing it. I did just have a random spark of like, somebody said you want to think about the reaction that the wall would give if somebody was to pass by and look at it. And that just made me think a lot of how we could also work with the design of the wall. We could like have this, okay, so some background. Our theme for the virtual food drive that we just finished up, we called it the Yak Attack Food Drive. So if we want to, we could make that the word that we want to draw like our reactions from, if that makes sense. Like put Yak Attack on a wall. Like if you were to draw what Yak Attack felt like, maybe that's what we could do for the wall, if that makes sense. So maybe we could have like this like carrot looking like carrot, but he's like drawn as a superhero and he's like Yak Attack and he's like giving everybody the food or something.
And I think that's part of what you need to do is to explain who you are and what your message is, but do it in this space that you're being given. It's like you're being given a length of time to have a message to send out to the public. How can you best get it across visually with what you have planned for the wall?
And I was going to also say something along those lines. I'm Elizabeth Carlson. I'm not on the Public Arts Commission, but I am an interested citizen. And so if you're addressing the public, keep in mind, like when I started this meeting today, I never heard of yak. So if I saw yak, I'd have no idea what that was. I also had to look up Think Orange. I had no idea what that was. So if you're going for the general public, remember, they don't know anything. You know all these terms and what you've done is fantastic. The other thing that pops into my mind is outrage. Why are there so many hungry people in one of the richest countries on earth and a very wealthy state where a lot of people are living in very, very great conditions? So I think I'm outraged, and I think it is outrageous. And and you've probably researched why is this happening? And maybe that could come across in the wall too.
I wanted to say that I did kind of get a spark as you all were talking about ideas. If I remember correctly, I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but it's a show on Netflix called All American, where it's kind of based in South Central LA. And there's a lot of murals that they've done over there. And I think when the George Floyd situation happened, they had George Floyd, but there was a lot of small pictures that made the picture of his face. And I also think when Kobe Bryant died, they did that in Los Angeles a lot too. So I'm not sure if we could do that or if that's an option, but I just wanted to throw that idea out there.
I haven't heard anyone bring up like the topic of like dealing with COVID, but I think that this year COVID has really affected us and how we've done our annual projects and how we've handled our projects. So I had an idea kind of similar to what James had brought up, but like what if we did like a mask, like the mirror, like a mask, but then inside the mask, like on like the outside of it, we had different pictures of the things that we stood for. Because it's kind of like, despite COVID, we've advocated for these things. If y'all understand what I'm saying.
I think that's a really good idea, just to blend all of that, all these ideas together. Just because there's so many things that we can do and have done during COVID, and to put that on a mask to show us like, it felt like this year was very restricting, but we used this year to the best of our ability. And so I think that will be something that we could definitely consider.
I wanted to ask really quickly, are you all doing this independently? Or are you working with an artist and executing it? Like, are you working with artists and doing it? Like, are you guided through it, or are you all kind of jumping into it?
You all are the artists that.
Oh.
You're the artist. Yeah, in years past, Yak always kind of did it on their own. And you could tell that the professional artist wasn't involved or anything like that. But I think this year the thought was to kind of amp it up a little bit and to work with those folks who do this and know this kind of work in a professional capacity. So that would hopefully be you all.
Yeah. I would say similar to what James was saying earlier, maybe I always like to do a little research before I start any art project. It just gives me a better understanding of what's already been done, and maybe even remixing some ideas that I've seen already. So I would like Google harvest murals or Google, social justice murals. You're going to get so many things, and you can take from that, right? Like you can pull ideas. And if you saw mask murals, right, what would Addison was saying, find some of those and see what works, and that'll give you ideas. And then you can do a little sketch. It doesn't have to be great, right? But kind of sketch out a little idea based on all the research. But I think starting with some research and looking at some murals that may inspire you to think about possibilities, right?
I'd just like to echo everyone's thanks for the work that you're doing for Winston-Salem, everyone on the YAC. And you're making me think back to my days on the YAC in Charlotte long, long ago and having some good memories there. But I'd also just like to jump in where India is going too with this question of what kind of design research you might do. And I'd probably add in some searching on collaborative murals and group murals. And the reason I say that is that when I look at the past really beautiful murals, what I see is that lots of people were working on separate places. And there are a lot of techniques that artists have used to bring together the different hands of the different painters, like bringing in a quilt pattern or thinking, like, as India was saying, thinking about the shape of the wall and how you might use that shape to create a frame that many different hands start to make sense inside. So like a quilt or like some kind of a repeated structure that would allow you, maybe it's not mask, but it's masks, or it's some kind of repetition that draws together all of the different elements and may have that strong unifying element like the color orange or like repeating fruits. But that then there could be a panel that describes what YAC is and that describes what the organizations are, so that you could have those smaller panels that tell detailed stories for folks who want to come in close and spend some time with it. But that then, you create a chorus from many voices instead of having separate elements.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, that was really good point, Betsy. And I have a question that is, how many people do you have to paint this? It goes right along with Betsy's question. Is that a committed group? And how much time are you going to put in to it as well? Those would be questions that you may want to sort of have an idea about how to answer sort of upfront before you start. And that would influence the design that you do, would be how many people do you have?
Well, in the past, YAC has invited other youth from the community to join in. This is really, it was envisioned as a community youth art project type of thing. And so it wasn't limited just to the members of YAC, but they would invite their friends, their classmates, and so on. Anybody who is youth, they could come out and paint on the wall. But what I was wondering is, the ideas that have been floated and some of the brainstorming that's gone on, anyone from the Public Arts Commission be available or willing or able to kind of sketch out something on the wall so that, like for instance, if there's a sketch of, like in the past, like the downtown landscape, the buildings downtown Winston-Salem, like if that was already sketched out, then all the youth would have to do is come in and paint it, like coloring and drawing in the lines or whatever, something like that. So that would be probably very helpful because, as has already been stated, it's not like we are artists by any stretch of the imagination, not in the human relations department. And so it would really be helpful to have something for them to just kind of fill in and go by so that they're not trying to freehand something like that.
By the way, I want to give the youth more creativity and power, not filling in the numbers. That would be my approach. But I applaud the youth, and you know, you guys are educators and advocates for childhood hunger. And I want to go back to this issue of educating the public, and this is an opportunity. I mean, why are the people in power in this state either ignoring or causing the least powerful in our state, the poor children, to go hungry? And that is a question everyone in this state should be asking themselves, and given the tools to understand it better. I don't understand it, but I know there's a reason undergirding all this, or many reasons. Could you put a website to go to learn more about childhood hunger in our region and state? So this is an educational opportunity for the public to go home and learn more about this crucial issue.
Hear, hear. Point well taken. James, go ahead.
I was going to say, based off of what Ms. Carlson said, what if we painted a QR code, like a small QR code, so people could just go straight to the website and learn more about hunger?
That's a great idea.
I'm a kind of, what is a QR code? I'm sure it's a brilliant idea, but I'm not.
So you know how there's like barcodes on a lot of your, yeah, right. So a QR code is basically that. It just looks different, and it's usually like a little square. And if you hold your phone's camera up to it, it'll recognize it and it can pull up a website like that. So yeah, that would be a really good idea. It would probably be easier to like get a sticker with the QR code on it or something, because I think painting it would be pretty hard, but we could definitely do that for sure.
And you may have to replenish that sticker every so often because, you know, graffiti and all this stuff.
Well, it could also be done as a stencil as well. Keep people from peeling little bits of it off and losing your message.
And you could do it in orange.
Would it be possible to explain, you know, just as a commissioner or committee member here, what is the approval process? Do the students and the Human Relations Commission, do they need to come for, once they have a final design, do they need to come back for approval? What is our, beyond the kind of the brainstorming that we're doing now, what is the process for approval from us?
There's no process for approval for this. This is a city park wall that the Parks or the Recreation Parks Department works with the Human Relations Department to execute this wall. So it's Wanda and her department.
Well, I'm
the arbiters of that.
Great, I think that's appropriate. And then I just want them to know that this is, I think, very special. And to me, I think the power of it is that they have the empowerment then really to do what they think is important. And a lot of people can try to lobby you with, I think, their points of view, such as, you know, some people are doing, but I really think the power lies within you, the students, and the Human Relations Commission to decide what's powerful to you and for that to voice. And I think that's the real power of art and the fact that you guys are doing it. So it's very special. And I think, you know, we could talk about this all day, but I think I certainly don't want to cut off the conversation, but I think it'd be important to identify some people that might be a resource to them as we move forward. And, you know, because it's about 2:40 and we got a lot more else to do in this meeting.
Yes, I agree, Jason. I think it probably is time. You know, I think one thing that if we had a couple of people on the committee that would be willing to talk a little bit more, but with the group here, do I have any volunteers that would be willing to go on a Zoom with the group one more time, just to help them out and help them solidify some of the
happy to do that.
Jason?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
I was gonna say I can also send you guys a list of artists, like local artists, right? Because I think what's going to happen is it's going to be nice if you can collaborate with a local artist he'll be able to kind of help guide this conversation. So maybe what I can do is I can send you a list of, maybe we can compile a list of local artists who do murals, and then you can go have a chance to look at their website, talk to them, see if they're interested, and that way you can kind of select a local artist that's doing murals that would be interested in doing this kind of community collaborative project. Similar to what David was saying earlier in the commission, how we kind of sit together and look at all these artists. That's what you guys would do. You would sit together and kind of look at everyone and kind of decide which artist's work you really like, and then maybe kind of present them with an idea.
I'll also mention that I just know from seeing art myself. I know it was years ago. I don't have anybody specifically in mind now, but at Reynolds High School and out at, every high school has an art program. I would really also look for your peers who are artists, and some of them are quite good. Mm-hmm. So I would really like you to see if you could get involved with, bring some of them into this mural, because I think they probably would really like to work with you on something like that. That'd be another thing to think about.
And I have a quick question going off of that. Will we still have some members from this commission help us? Like, could we still have a few of you to meet in a group, even though we would potentially be looking at other artists, such as some of our peers or local members?
Yeah, I don't know, Cliff, would you be willing to? I saw you had raised your hand. I don't know if we have a couple of volunteers that would be willing to go down there and take a look at the wall, or would meet with the group.
Yeah, I think I could do that. Just that, got to get this exhibition installed that I'm working on now. But yeah, anytime after next week, sure.
And I don't know about you, Kelly, whether you could play a role in this, but you may be also very, very busy. But Dara, you're right down near, or you used to be near that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe people don't go to their places of work anymore.
I'm near there. Unfortunately, right now I'm overcommitted.
Okay.
To projects.
Go ahead.
What's the deadline for it? When are you guys trying to execute the mural?
So we're painting it. We're getting everybody to group up and meet down there late June, I believe, like the 23rd, 24th. Do you guys have an official date yet? Because I know you sent out a survey to see what would work best for people.
I think so far, I think it's June 26th.
Okay.
That Thursday?
Yeah, right. So it's a little while away. I thought that was a Sunday. I don't know. It's like later down the line, so.
Well, it's closer than you think.
Right, for sure, because we are in June now, so.
Yeah, and I will also say that even if we couldn't meet in the Zoom, I know that my, council members, we could definitely share our contact information if you guys don't have it already, and, exchange, contact and ideas so that we could go ahead and kind of finalize some things and look over some ideas just to get the ball moving.
I think India's suggestion, if she could make up a list, that would be a good place to start. And then feel free to send us some emails with some images on them, things you might like to do. I think we could get back to you, pretty soon if you could do that, and then make some suggestions. But I think the best thing for you to do is to find some peers that would help you, that have used paint before a lot, because that's the medium you're working in. And that would really help you a whole lot. And you can be the ones that say, this is the design we want, and really get some artists involved with yourselves. It sounds like a lot of us have a really busy schedule. I myself am going to be out of town, but we have a busy schedule, so it doesn't look like you can rely on us necessarily to be your artists, but we want to do everything we can to help you.
Yeah. So Betsy asked a great question just a second ago. India, you made a really good point with like the artists and everything. Betsy asked, should we identify some money to pay the local artists? I don't know.
That was my next question.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, I don't really know if that, like, I don't know if it'd be coming for you guys or from Youth Advisory Council. I don't know. So go ahead.
See, that was my question for Wanda. Like, is there a set budget to pay for the murals, or is this something that, yeah?
Wow. If YAC is able to pay anything, it would not be a whole lot because, you know, they're an advisory group. They don't really have too much of a budget, but there could probably be some money identified to pay something, but it would not be a whole lot. And I don't even know what something like that would typically look like. I don't know how much, I don't even know where to begin.
So,
and this is,
am I being heard now? I just wanted to add a few things because I've been waiting for a moment to speak. I'm Caleb Williams. I go by Dump Truck Jr. I am a local artist, muralist. I've painted on the art park walls several years now. I've had a few murals, mostly commissioned by PBR, that may or may not exist anymore. At least one has been painted over. And then I've also got a mural, a large one, inside Bull's Tavern. Anyway, I've got a few things up currently if anybody does want to go and take a look at any of that stuff. If you can get into Bull's Tavern, I don't know, she might let you in on an afternoon or something if you're not of age, if you just want to view that one. But either way, before I get too lengthy, because I'm long-winded, I've got some experience painting on walls, whether they be indoor or outdoor. I am willing to lend any of my knowledge to the group. I don't want to play a huge part in this because it is your project and I want you guys to paint it yourselves and feel that empowerment, because to me, having that finished piece of art on the wall is the empowerment. It gives you a few different realizations and you'll find those as you get done with it. But either way, if you have any knowledge, anything you want to know, I have my brain that you can pick. I'm offering it to the group. So if you want to include me in future Zoom meetings, in-person meetings at the wall, the location, or even include me on the event day, I'm just willing to lend anything that I have to help. I don't want to make it my project. I'm not looking for any money. I think as long as you guys have a budget enough to pay for the paint to get it done, you're doing fine. I'm open to anything. So, before, I don't want to go any further, but pick my brain. I'm here.
I could definitely speak on behalf of the council that we would more than willing, we would just really appreciate it. We are more than willing to pick out your brain, as you said, and run some ideas by you. And yes, if you can send your contact information to either Jamie or Wanda or in the chat, I think it'll be amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Wow, that's really awesome. Thank you.
Funding. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, we do have funding, of course, to cover all supplies. Obviously, the paint brushes, whatever, tarp, that's what we typically do anyway when they do the expression wall. So right. That's not an issue at all.
I know that in the past and every year when I paint on I don't paint every year, but all the years that I've been included on the art wall at the art park, it's never a huge budget. So if anything, like I'm able to maybe put a little money in my pocket, but mostly just pay for my materials for that wall. So, not every project that you're going to do as a muralist is an opportunity to make an amount of wealth for yourself. Sometimes, and I hate saying that as an artist, but sometimes you do kind of have to take a little bit of a hit here and there, get your name out there. I've gotten a little bit of recognition for the few times I've been on that wall, and it hasn't really paid me a lot, but it may have led to more contacts or other art to be done. So, the money is not, as long as you get your supplies covered especially for something like this, that's really just to get your word out there and let people know where you stand, but also give youth and other folks that may not have an opportunity to paint on a wall like this, that opportunity. The money is not the huge issue. For sure. But, any money you guys can raise to whatever, that's on you. I'm just saying, I'm not worried about the money. As long as you guys have your supplies paid for, I'm willing to help with anything else.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to thank everybody on the YAC right now. We have 5 more projects that we have to discuss, so I think we better move on. Please.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for being here. Well, I hope we've helped you, and we're ready to keep helping you in any way that we possibly can.
You've been a huge help. Thank you so much.
Great, great, great. Thanks. All right. Moving on, we need to talk about the Salem Parkway Bridge art. Kelly, you want to kick that discussion off?
Yeah, so I have some good news for the rest of the meeting. It's going to be pretty quick. I don't have anything new to report on Salem Parkway Bridge art. DOT is working with Stimmel to come up with base locations, and they're not done yet. So they're planning to come to the July meeting. And once I have some new information from them, I'll share it with you. I just wanted a placeholder on the agenda just in case they did come through at the last minute, but they didn't. So, so that's so nothing new to report there. I can do project reports if you'd like.
Yes, yes.
Public art plan has been being discussed at the county commissioners, and it is being voted on June 3rd. So those discussions have gone fine. I haven't gotten any, difficult questions. Hopefully that is cruising to approval, but we'll have a final word on June 3rd. Memory wall, they're going to pressure wash it next week and begin work at the end of June, June 28th, probably. They've actually begun work doing some of the sculptures that they're going to put on the wall in their own studios, but they'll be doing those installations at the end of June. Artistic bus shelters, downtown sculpture, and COVID memorial. There's nothing new to report on those either. You're on mute, David.
Nothing new for those. Okay. Nothing new on the COVID memorial. Where do we stand with that?
We have kind of a vision, but we're waiting since we had an application to the county on the getting funding for that. We're waiting for the county to finalize their budget, which should be by the end of June. So once we have that final number, we'll be able to move forward with that.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. And no movement on the downtown sculpture?
No, not
give me an idea, or us an idea of what the next step is with that?
They need to work through any design revisions based on now that she is linked up with fabricators. She needs to, they need to work together to, on their design, since, materials costs and everything else, the reality of that is going to change that design some. So they're working through that. And once they have some changes, they'll bring that back to the committee to build that.
Okay. Okay. Well, any questions from the committee about any of the projects that are ongoing? Sounds like there's a lot that's just on hold right now.
The memory wall, is that the one, Mr. Imagination memory wall? Is that what you're talking about, Kelly?
Yes, that's, and that project is the restoration of the memory wall behind the transit center.
Who's doing the project?
It's a group of 4 artists. David Brown, who worked at Sika at the time the memory wall was built. Aaron Gibbons, who he did the portrait project fabrication. Derek Monk is a local artist, and then Duncan Lewis, also a local artist. He did the triple helix down in the Innovation Quarter. I can't think of Derek Monk's work right now, but he's another local artist. So 4 of them are a team, and they'll be given it a good cleaning, changing the contours of the top of the wall so that it doesn't collect water and or trash. And they'll be replacing, I believe there are 14 sculptures on the top of that got knocked off. So they'll be building replicas of those and installing them. And then they will also be replacing some of the hubcaps that got damaged with new vintage hubcaps that I bought off eBay.
Well, thank you. That's good to hear.
We could probably move then to the last part of our meeting here, which is the public comment period. Looks like we have a couple people that want to make some public comments. I think we have, it looks like we'll be able to adjourn a little bit early today. I think, isn't that correct, Kelly? Because we have a comment period that we're gonna have probably for. Yes.
You can limit the comments to 2 or 3 minutes. And I just need, before you begin, I just need your name and address for the record. So not sure who would like to go first.
Well, Elizabeth, you're a public commentary.
Are you talking to this Elizabeth?
Elizabeth Carlson, yes, Elizabeth? I'm sorry. Didn't realize we had 2 Elizabeths here. Yes.
Okay. Elizabeth Carlson, 3303 Buena Vista Road, Winston-Salem. And I'd like to encourage the Public Arts Commission to get behind some kind of public art, probably in the downtown, that would be honoring Winston-Salem outstanding musical heritage. Recently, David Menconi wrote the definitive book on North Carolina music called Step It Up and Go, the story of North Carolina popular music. And it'll be the coffee table book, the scholar's book that people use for decades. He's the music critic for the News and Record in Raleigh for decades. And there's a lot on Winston-Salem. There's at least 2 full chapters on Winston-Salem, one on the 5 Royals and one on Mitch Easter, and includes the whole scene with Chris Stamey and Peter Holzhappel and the Southern Rock. And it's just such, and recently David Menconi was doing a talk on Zoom with Bookmarks with Peter Holzhappel and Chris Stamey out of Chapel Hill. And David Menconi was saying that there should be a whole book written on Winston-Salem music, and he said it a number of times. And I asked the question, how come there's not more here in Winston-Salem acknowledging the musical heritage? I asked Chris Stamey and Peter Holzhappel, both of which have extensive, Wikipedia pages. And they said, well, these things move slowly. Look how long it took for a street to be named after the 5 Royals. And it's really a shame. It's a tiny little street on a dead end. The 5 Royals are in this book. The huge full-page picture next to the table of contents is of the 5 Royals. And they wrote Dedicated to the One I Love, Think. They had a huge impact on the history of rock and roll. Some music historians think they're the most influential group in the history of rock and roll. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame late in 2015. But the point is, there are so many resources here in Winston-Salem. You have Ed Baumgartner, you have, well, our group, Carolina Music Ways, you have Richard Emmett, who's he owns, I'm just the Ramcat. He knows so much on the musical heritage. You have a woman who taught at Winston-Salem, at WFU, and now she's at School of the Arts. I mean, that's just, Mitch Easter's still alive. You have relatives of the Five Royals. You have, Peter Holzapfel and Chris Stamey in Chapel Hill. I mean, it's just, it would be a crime if there was not some kind, and it's such a way to bring different elements of this city and county together, because a very multicultural heritage, depending on what kind of piece you did, whether you were focusing just on the Five Royals or if you were doing the musical heritage. You could do both. But anyway, so that's my point. I would be happy. I'm personally writing curriculum with collaborating with people at Wake Forest and UNC Chapel Hill and other educators around the state on the Five Royals, the Chitlin Circuit, and the Birmingham Children's March. I mean, there's so much education connected to all this and very timely with the topics that are coming up today. So I would like to make a pitch for a terrific piece or pieces of public art honoring the musical heritage of this city, which will help downtown revitalization. If you look at this booming cities, you look at Nashville and Austin, what do they have in common but the musical heritage and live music scene? So it's so beneficial, not only to the heritage, but to economic development and racial understanding and all kinds of things. It's such a win-win-win. And I'll shut up. I think I've done my 3 minutes there.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth Carlson. Wow, that's quite a good pitch. Any comments here from the group?
Yeah, I think she does bring up a good point. I think that's something we should touch on with our public arts, because I don't think enough people really outside of Winston-Salem know about the Five Royals, and what their contribution was. So having something that touches on the musical scene here and in a creative fashion would be a good addition.
Now, didn't the Five Royals just become part of the Walk of Fame in front of the convention center like a year ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't think they're totally unrecognized, just to be fair.
I think this is Dara. I like the idea. I wonder too if we couldn't be more strategic and possibly work with Visit Winston-Salem in terms of thinking about it from a tourism perspective. Just going to leave that out there.
Yeah, it ties it all in, definitely. You could do it from every perspective you can think of to make to reap the most benefit from it. Educational, tourism, downtown revitalization, understanding more about our community and culture and the multicultural interconnectedness of the music, etc.
Elizabeth, you sound very much like what I would call a champion of this idea, which I think is really wonderful. And in many, many cases, this is how things get done in a community. It's with like a single person who just has this idea and a belief that it can happen. Anything that is like what you might think of as art that stands out in public, like in a roundabout or on a street corner or something that is made out of like some permanent material, is very, very expensive. Just to tell you about that. That doesn't have to be, what you're thinking about doesn't necessarily have to be like a statue, but I know a lot of people think that that's the best way to make this kind of commemoration. But there are lots of other ways to do it. And so what we would probably like to do is think creatively with a champion about how this could be done in a way that made a lot of sense. For example, I just had a student who created these, used what we were talking about before, the, not the UPC, but the CR codes to make something that anybody with a phone could access a playlist. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have something that we'd have stickers on the buses, on the bus shelters that would access the songs of some of the songs that you're talking about in different locations in the city. So we could conceive of something that would be a really, really fantastic project, I think. And, you know, Betsy, your hand is up next.
Thanks, David. And I think it's a great idea, Elizabeth. And I'll just jump onto what you're saying there, David, that I know that the 5 Royals have come up as one of the likely topics for our next set of bus shelters. And that's not, that's not a permanent, monumental work of art, but I could see that as a way to raise attention to music in Winston-Salem. And that, I mean, Kelly, I don't know how far along we are. Mitch Easter could certainly be added to the conversations around, bus shelters and what topics we're going to consider. But I could see that as a way to be a starting point for raising some money to create something that would be more permanent and more expansive, because those bus shelters do get a lot of notice. And the idea of tying it in with the jukebox project is also like, there are lots of ways that those intersections could raise attention and raise notice.
I like the idea of the audio component. And here's an idea, and Jason, you'll love this. There's a lot of, and it dovetails with Dara's ideal about this visit Winston-Salem. There's a lot of blank wall space in downtown Winston-Salem. And this is something the engineer at Wake Forest, what's her name, Jason? You know, the woman on our subcommittee?
Yes, yeah, I do. I can't, you have to forgive me.
Elise.
Yes, thank you. At least
well, the murals are cheaper than putting up a sculpture, and there's so much mural space. And I love the idea of the 5 Royals, but there's other groups here too. There's so much you can really have a lot of. There's Ben Folds, and there's all kinds of different things that you could tie in with the bluegrass world, and there is I don't want to say endless, but enormous musical material. So one blank wall that really jumps to mind is diagonally, it's on the hotel, the Marriott. It's diagonally across the street from the Benton Convention Center. It's directly across the street from that brew pub. What's it called on the corner there?
Small Batch.
Small Batch. It's just sitting there. It's a brick wall. And it's right across from the convention center. I think that needs a little spruce.
Well, there's a mural on it by Laura Lashley right now.
Oh, well, okay, there you go. I haven't seen it recently. Well,
I think one of the things, Elizabeth, is like, I mean, just my perspective is that your comment, I mean, I love the fact that more private murals, privately funded murals on public space or publicly funded murals. I think you can have an endless conversation about murals, and there are a lot of spaces that are blank, and the convention center itself has a lot of blank walls, but it's hard to get permission to do it. But I think it's all about who's got the money, and basically every project has to have a champion, and it may be a public champion, it may be a private champion. In fact, I'm thinking about championing a public art mural now. And so it really just takes, if you really want to do this mural, you got to find who are the people that want to do it with you, and then who's going to raise the money. And that's really the thrust of it. And I think everybody's up for more murals. We're not certainly going to argue against it. We're all for it. It's just, we're kind of subject to the actual limitations of financing. And I think that's really the thrust of it. We could talk about this all day. You're absolutely right. I love the idea of doing more murals. But, we're just kind of talking circular until there's a resource identified. So
what is the Public Art Commission? I mean, don't they have public money?
we don't have unlimited piles of money. Like you, I guess, are coming to us thinking that we have an unlimited pile of money that is just waiting for people's good ideas. And that's just not the case. And so that just to kind of clear that up.
That said, I mean, I think that part of the public art plan is to long-term is to be able to develop a mural project. I think that music would be an excellent way to do that, to tie a group of murals together throughout the city. I could really see that. It's a big kind of project, but we need to get funding for that through the public art plan that we're developing.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it all comes down to money.
Actually, council has not, that we don't have a final approval for that, nor do we have funding for that right now, but we're hoping that we can be able to, that'll happen in the next year or so, right, Kelly?
Yeah, so the city council is working on the next budget for the next fiscal year, which starts in July 1st. I'm hopeful that we will have our budget replenished from what was taken away during COVID. And that's only $50,000 a year right now. So, and then we're asking for them to consider a % for art ordinance, which would be future capital projects, to have public art as part of those. So that could be, a music, the music of Winston-Salem could certainly be part of a future % for art project if the city council decides to fund that.
Yeah,
might be something to consider for Industry Hill as that develops.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are good ideas. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for bringing this to us. And we've got your name, got your number. Jason obviously knows of you. This is a really good. I think it's really a good idea.
Kelly also knows me. You can go directly through Kelly.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think our other possibility for public comment has dropped off. I don't know if he was waiting around to make a comment. Was he, Kelly?
He indicated that he was when he asked for the link, but
Caleb.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he got what he wanted by working with the Youth Advisory Council.
Now, how about Greg? Greg out there. Greg. How you doing, Greg? Hey, man. We haven't forgotten about you. Are you here to make a public comment?
Pardon me.
Well, are you a new member? You're a new one on the committee.
I was being an observant person today related to the bridge art on Salem Parkway. That's what I've been working on through Creative Corridors Coalition and one of the group of folks that have been discussing the issues related to that. So Kelly invited me to the meeting today in case there was some discussion about it, but it looks like it's going to be delayed till July, I guess. But thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak then.
Righto. Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
So we may not have any, is there any more business that we have to attend to? Otherwise, I will call for an adjournment. That's okay.
I wanted to ask real quick, was anybody able to, I didn't get a chance, they had the kind of open forum where people could talk about where they were going to spend the money, this kind of money that was given to Winston-Salem. Jared, do you know what I'm talking about? Were any of you guys able to sit in on that? And were any art related initiatives mentioned? I missed the day. Chase
Law who's our new president and CEO at the Arts Council, made a big pitch.
Okay, good. Good.
Just to city for overall arts and cultural sector.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think a lot of people are just waiting to see. There were a lot of folks making comments and pitches.
Okay, good. I just didn't know if any of us were. I wasn't able to sit on it, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I hope somebody mentioned something art related during that call. Okay, great.
Okay, well, if there aren't any other comments, we will see you. Any others? Okay, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. We will see you all on the first Tuesday in July. So, and anybody that can give the YAC a hand, we really appreciate. Yeah, let's keep in touch with them. I think that their project is kind of interesting, and hopefully they can have a mural up there in about a month's time.
Yeah,
I like how spontaneous theirs are. Their things are really spontaneous, and that energy is really great. So it's good.
I'm willing to help if, and as I said before, so.
Great, thank you.
I was going to ask real quick, if I send, I don't know all the muralists in Winston-Salem, I only know like a few. And some of the ones I know are in like Greensboro as well. If I send a list to you guys, can you just kind of add to the list, and then we'll just send the list to everybody, right? So sure. Maybe I'm looking at a few people on the call who may know. Cliff, I'm staring at you, people who may know a couple of murals. Just add the list.
I know a couple.
Yeah. So we can just add it and make it, a robust list. It won't be like one or two people. Yeah. All right.
Okay, great. See you anon, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.